This is Daniel Cerrone, writer of episode 903, The SPK. You're listening to the Blacklist Exposed on Golden Spiral Media.
Well, I think Red said it best. Getting lost in the past distracts us from the work of the present. Welcome, everyone, to the award-winning The Blacklist Exposed podcast. Greetings, one and all. I'm Agent Troy Heinrichs.
And I'm Agent Aaron Peterson, and never has a character spoken my language more than Dembe when he said, I'm not auditioning for your approval or your trust. And I'm not either. Yay. Thanks for joining us yet again for number 178 on the Blacklist, the SPK, written by Daniel Cerrone and directed by Christine Moore. And this is my morning radio voice, so you're welcome. Show notes and other intel for this episode of The Blacklist Exposed can be found at theblacklistexposed.com. I can't tell you, Troy, how much I love that quote, because I'm like, God, that's how I speak.
I think Hisham is the one killing it this season, to be honest.
I agree, 100%. Even though, you know, the whole FBI thing's been hard to swallow, he's done fantastic.
He feels like he is the show right now.
Him and Ressler, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, him and Ressler. Yep.
Even though we went back to the past on Ressler's drug addiction, we went back to the past on Agnes's stuff, we went back to the past on the Blacklister. So
is this new and fresh?
Yeah, at least Dembe's new. We need some more new.
Yeah. New is good. New is good.
New is good.
Maybe Liz had another kid we don't know about.
Maybe, because apparently she's still alive to some people.
Maybe Tom did. Tom had another kid that we didn't know about. And obviously, you know, he came to feel bad about Tom, so maybe, you know, then Red will be pulled that way. I
mean, we knew Tom was a player from the start of the show, so it's possible.
Maybe that one, what was it? Was it Gina? What was her name? Was it Gina that he was with?
Well, there was Gina Xanatakos, then there was Lucy Brooks, the teacher that was really his handler.
Yeah, one of them. Well, one of them we never saw again. I'm trying to remember. Well, one died, but one
died and one's just out in the wind.
Just yeah, maybe she had a kid. There you go. If you really want to go back to the past, like go all the way back.
Hey, if Gina Xanatakos comes back, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, she was fun.
She was fun. We should also mention that we're going to refer to this as the SPK the entire night because no one can pronounce whatever the hell the SPK stands for.
I've tried. I tried very, very frequently, and I'm sure many people will correct it and go on Twitter and say, it's just simple. It's like this. Well, good. You know what? Kudos to Spader. That's why he gets paid the big bucks, because he can pronounce that without going, what? And butchering the hell out of it. We're good with SPK. Everybody else called it SPK. We're
gonna make it even worse, and we're going to call it the SPK Knighthood, because then it's the SPKK.
No. I don't even want to dance on that. I don't want to dance on that. You fumble that once, it's a problem. Not doing it.
You're exactly right.
Nope.
Well, our pro-friendly question from last week was, why does Red want to be the Skinner? We got some interesting answers this week.
Yeah, Michelle Jones says to improve his golf game. Okay.
Alice Peterson said he had dreamed of being a captain of a ship, so why not a pirate ship?
Arr. Monica Stolfa, so that he will have access to the organization's personnel, that and he gets a discount at Bubba's Bait and Ammo store.
It's true.
I don't quite understand that, but I'm kind of curious. What would he do with bait and ammo?
Blow up bigger fish.
Bazinga.
Diana Driscoll said, I think he's looking to establish a legacy.
And Chuck Gibbons to match his new hairstyle. Okay. It looks like the hair's come back too, by the way.
It is
starting to grow. Yeah, starting to grow. Yeah, that'll be interesting. The whole Skinner angle. And I know many people said, well, it's just a shortcut to rebuild his empire. And I'm just like, I mean, he rebuilt it in like no time flat before, but it's been a couple years. So maybe his contacts are dried up or something. And he's trying to do the express lane, but it sure seems like he already hadn't lost a step. I mean, he's got his jet going. He's got his, right hand. Everything's going fine. It looked like to me.
I think so as well, especially since he knew about these people. So the Blacklist is obviously still collecting information, whether he's around or not.
Sure. Yeah. Now, our question for next week, did Aram make the right choice? He made a huge decision in this episode to leave the private sector and stay with the task force, but he left and gave up all that money. And it means mom and dad are probably going to be a little disappointed. Even though Mom's getting a kitchen, I get that. But overall, Mom could have had a new house. You know what I'm saying?
Mama could have 5 houses.
Yep.
But we digress. I mean, it's fine. I like getting paid pennies to do good work. Isn't that corporate America in general?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, wow. You know what's funny? You say that. So I'm going to give you a little fact I learned this week, a little tidbit. I was watching The Problem with Jon Stewart. You brought up this. So did you know up until 1980 that the employer and the employee's profit margin was running parallel, which meant as the companies made more money, the employees were making more money. Not necessarily the same amount, obviously, but they were making more at the same percentage or the same percentage as the company was. So they were running like uphill the same way.
The growth,
and then about
growth rate of both were equal.
Exactly. And then starting in 1980, the employee portion plateaued almost. I mean, it went to a minuscule raise where companies continued to go. The old trickle down thing. So it's an interesting stat if you can find it. And I did look it up to make sure that it was legit, and it is. You just mentioned employees. I just want to mention that it's a fun fact, and it'll make you very, very sad.
So obviously work for yourself and then you'll be happy. But unfortunately working for yourself means like working 20 hours a day.
It means that now we're kind of in this situation where people have more bargaining power, and I'm a fan of employees being seen for their value.
Well, hopefully a shift is coming. That
sure needs to, right?
That would be great, because we need people to do good work like Aram is doing. He's doing it for the right reasons. I appreciate the choice.
But he probably took a huge pay cut to do that job.
Definitely, for sure. But before we get cut down by Weecha, let's go ahead and get into this week's case profile.
I did think Weech's moment there was pretty cool.
It was so badass. I was like,
it was pretty badass.
She's even better than Red when Red took out that prison with one gun.
Yeah, it was really cool. I love the shot behind the back. I always love those in movies. And I'm like, I don't think that's possible, but it's cool. It always looks cool.
But I always think like maybe they have like Google glasses or something on, or something. They have like a camera in their neck.
Is that still a thing? Like Google Lens? Is that still a thing? Or did they get rid of that?
It's the only way that works, though.
I really want
like a camera that they could see behind themselves.
I really wanted that to be a thing.
Either that or they have one of those clip-on mirrors that you have when you're like right on a motorcycle or a bicycle.
Like a clip-on rear view. Man, I've ridden a motorcycle with one of those and they suck. I don't think I could aim a gun by it. I could barely turn a lane on it. Here's a hint. If you ride a motorcycle, check. Trust me. I wouldn't trust anything that kind of look like, objects might be closer than they appear. Anyway, so case profile. We're off on tangents already. The SPK. It's basically a cult, right? I mean, it is a knighthood, and they've been around for quite some time, but they've been very violence-free, would you say? Would you agree with that
it seems like
statement?
They've gotten more extremist as the years have gone on.
Yes, so now they're really getting extreme as they keep going after religious items, like historical religious items, and it's all about their faith and what they believe and so on and so forth. But they decide to escalate things and blow up a church, which surprises their leader, who happens to be Stacy Keach, returning as who, Troy?
Robert Vesco.
Robert Vesco. Is it Vesco or Nesco? Vesco?
Well, I think Nesco's fun. Like, I use my Nesco all the time.
Yeah, Robert Vesco's returning.
And in a way, I guess in a way, Robert Vesco was being used like an Nesco by Reddington, potentially.
It's a name that's fun to say. So what did you think about bringing back one of probably many people's favorite blacklisters, I think, in many respects, and this is my opinion, one of our best character actors? Yeah,
I like Stacy Keach. Here was my dilemma. So,
I love Stacy Keach. I just want to point out, I don't care what the reviews said. Escape from LA 2 was great, and he was great in it. Not a great script, but I still had fun with it, and he was wonderful. Just defending him. He's just great.
Defending. But my problem was that as you're watching the show, obviously you have the credits, and when the credits flashed up Stacy Keach's name, I was like, well, this just took the entire weight out of the sails. Because as they're describing the organization, it's like, well, clearly Robert Vesco is the leader, Giovanni. And I'm just like, what? Man. Like it literally kind of ruined the whole episode, seeing his name in the credits up front, which isn't a fault of anybody's. It's just, it's a hard dance.
I partially agree with you. I agree they shouldn't have had it in the credits. And they're required to. I wish it wouldn't have been there because once you see it, you do know he's coming. Now, that said, I am also an avid fan of if the surprise ruins something, it wasn't good to begin with. That's kind of my argument on the Hollywood Outsider when we talk about people being spoiled and stuff. Like, I don't like being spoiled. I don't think it's right when people spoil something. But if that's all that thing has, then it wasn't good to begin with. That's my argument. And I don't think that ruined anything for me personally. I mean, your mileage may vary. It didn't ruin anything for me. So as long as the rest of it works, I still enjoy it. It's that initial moment. People just love that moment of, I didn't see that coming. And you don't have that when his name's in the credits because you know exactly who he's going to be. And it's not going to be some side character. The odds are it's going to be him. But to be fair, Troy, I mean, it could have been that Robert Vesco returned in some other fashion, you know? Yeah,
it could have been kidnapped or held hostage or something, and then...
Or helped Red with the Blacklist.
Could be. Yeah.
Yeah.
The minute I saw it, I was like, it planted the thought in my head immediately, like, oh, he's running the show. It's like, great.
Fair enough. Yeah. But it was good to have him back, though.
Yeah, I like the character. The character's fine. Here's my challenge so far. We're 3 episodes in. It's still early in the season.
Fine. That's what you say about your grandma's soup when she wasn't, it's not how it used to be. She was good.
It's edible. Yeah, you can sit down and have a meal with grandma. And that's kind of how it feels at this point. I'm at the point where it's like, if we're rebooting the show, let's reboot the show. Let's do something new. The fact that we're 3 episodes in and going back to the well for a Blacklister of the past is kind of like, man, it's like we set up the new season. We understand where we were going. Like the 2 episodes is great. Like, why are we going back to the well in the 3rd episode? Like literally all 3 storylines, old Blacklister, Agnes, Ressler's pain addiction, pill addiction. Like both. All 3 things we've seen before.
That's pain and pills. I get your point. I mean, I do understand your point. I do feel, but they're also trying to stay true to the show that it has been as well, right? I mean, they're trying to reboot. It's a soft reboot. It's not like a full on reboot. That would be new characters across the board. So, I think they're just, honestly, what I think it is you bring somebody back that people love from the past so that you keep massaging this season into what it's going to be.
Yeah. Like I haven't thrown out, I'm not watching it anymore kind of feels, but I'm like, okay, episode 4, chop. Like we got to get something more exciting, more flashy, more
what do you want to
see?
What do you feel like I mean, I get what you're saying, and I've seen other fans say the same thing, so I know it's not an anomaly. So what do you want to see?
I think for me, depending on how you want to interpret the finale, most of us are interpreting it the exact same way at this point. I think there's just stories from the past that would be super interesting if you would just lean into the fact that you gave that answer to the audience, right? If the answer is out there to the audience, then let the audience experience the mind of that person and what that's going through. And I think you can do so much stuff with it. Like I had this really great idea about how Anton Velov was the one that was chasing Katerina all those years. Like what if Anton Velov's child is now the one that's chasing Red, and she or he is the big bad of the season. And then all these people that are going after Red, he doesn't know why they're coming after him. And as we undo the cases of the week as we go along, we build up to it's Anton Velov's kid taking up the mantle, right?
That's literally going against what you said you didn't want. But that's going to the past. That's going back to the well. That's going in the past.
But it's different,
literally and figuratively.
But it's different because it's a new thing. Because
Velov's an existing character from last season.
But it's not Velov. It's Velov's kid.
It's still Velov. It's Velov by proxy.
And it keeps this whole like parental hierarchy, which is the show, right, in play. But at least it's a new story and a new way of telling the story, because as the audience, you won't know what the reveal is until the reveal happens. And then you go like, oh, like Berlin, right? And you're like, oh, it's Berlin the whole time. And all of these things built up to Berlin. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the individual episodes that, when stitched together later, all make sense. Right now, it just doesn't feel like that. Like each episode seems very standalone case of the week at this point.
It seems like that's the direction they're going. I understand that. I do agree that there should be a big bad and there should be an overarching progression for the season or something along those lines. Don't agree on Velov's kid. It's literally exactly against what you just said you didn't want. It is going back to the past. So I get your idea. I actually like your idea. I'm just saying, if you really don't want to go back to the well, that's not the right way to do it. But my opinion. But I do agree. We need a big bad of some sort. I don't really care what it is. I just think you got to have some stakes. Otherwise, but it's also the third episode of a complete rebuild. I mean, they're moving ahead at quite a pace already in terms of storylines that are already kind of being immediately addressed or dropped, which we've already said they address things fast, but I think this is even super fast. I mean, the whole Aram storyline, that went quick. And that seems like it would be a much more impactful decision to weigh. But, they wanted to get it out of the way so they could get moving. So maybe that's what this episode is. It's like to get things moving.
It could be. I mean, Peter's already shacking up with somebody else because we haven't heard of Peter this episode. So,
well, apparently Park hasn't been home in 3 episodes. So poor guy. He's having a rough time. I'm sure we'll see him soon. Well, I know we will. He's been cast. So,
what are your thoughts about the cult itself, like going after religious artifacts? I felt initially like this was going to be like National Treasure, and I was kind of really excited from the jump from that perspective.
I can't remember who it was, but I feel like we had something similar to this before. But it's there's been so many blacklisters, I can't remember them all. But I didn't love the angle. I just blowing up a church. But part of my family's religious, so I probably just didn't like that angle of it. I didn't dislike it. I really liked Dembe's take on it, where he was kind of explaining devotion, because I really respect that. I've seen too many people especially the past couple of years, that have really kind of just started hating on people that are religious, and it's kind of unfair, because I know a lot of religious people that are very wonderful people. I know a lot of atheists that are wonderful people. And I also know the same amount of both that are jackasses. So, I don't like to lump anybody into a group and say, well, I don't like you because you're in this group. I just don't like to do that across the board. To me, that's division. That's the definition of division and bigotry, in my opinion. So I try not to do that. So I like that Dembe was kind of, while some of them were kind of coming at it from, kind of looking down on them for their beliefs, Dembe pushed right back, because he has his own beliefs, where he's like, hey, here's why they believe that. It's not about anything more than they believe, and you should treat that with reverence. And I like that. I thought that was a good angle that doesn't get explored or stated enough on most television shows. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think having that conversation, and I think you have to roll it into giving people the ability to be able to have a point of reference. Like, how does the case of the week, the Blacklister, affect our characters? And I think Dembe is the one that's going on some kind of journey, as you will, trying to find his place in the world. And just as these, cults or, extremist organizations or religious organizations are also trying to find, their place in the world. Like, what is the point of all of this? And why do we put up with society? Why do we allow corporations to have a higher expanding curve than employees? And that's how these things come to be, is people just kind of lash out. And so I think Dembe's point of view on it like helps ground people into what's really going on and almost humanizes it a little bit, I guess.
Very, very much so. It's not, I think because I believe he's Muslim in the show.
Correct.
Right? Okay. It's, and I think in real life, it's very much about, trying to accept that people are responsible for whatever they do, not groups. And many people that are devoted to whatever they're devoted to, they don't need you to understand that. It's not their responsibility for you to understand why they believe what they believe. It's their belief. It's just your responsibility to treat them like you would anyone else until they do something that deserves a negative treatment.
Right. Some kind of intervention.
Yeah. Everybody's an individual. Respect the person and then judge them by actions, not by what you perceive their beliefs to be.
Right. Just because we're like diehard Green Bay Packer fans, it's like I'll still pick up the Cardinals fan and give him a beer after he lost.
That's a weird connection, but since you're a religious guy yourself, I'll just let it go.
Hey, football does happen on Sundays, right?
Sure. Well, because I'm not religious, but my wife is very devout. So I see this very much from both sides. And I just like that dichotomy was presented in some fashion. Even if it was short and brief, I liked it.
What about Vesco leading in the fact that he's just using this as a con?
I mean, that's not cool. That's not cool. You want to con a bunch of fanatics, then, that group it seemed very much fanatical because, look what they did with the church and everything else. So I would use that term. The people that are in that group seem to be fanatical. I think at that point, it's a dangerous slope, and sadly he got what was coming to him. But I thought that's ballsy. You're taking some real chances there, buddy, because you don't want to be on the wrong side of this if they find out who you are, which, eventually they did.
Do you think that there's some kind of I'm trying to figure out how to say this in a polite way, that he wasn't able to discern how fanatical these people were because maybe he's kind of lost a step, in the game, and maybe that's some kind of parallelism to Red losing a step in the game because he wasn't able to establish his legacy through Liz?
I think he was blind to it because he loved the power of it. Being a leader, having all of this blind devotion, got to his head. That's what I think. I mean, it was like the most immense belief in the con ever.
Right. I can take any group and make any group my people.
Yep.
Yeah, which I guess is a parallel to Red in a lot of ways.
Sure. All right, well, let's move on to our characters and let's break down some of the big stuff that happened to them this week. And how about music?
Yeah, nothing. We were talking about how the shows felt a little bit different with the lack of music, and there was no actual songs this week. It was all just backtracks for the most part.
Makes it easy for you.
Sure does. But if you like the music from last year's, you can go get those on the playlist, both on Apple and Spotify, over on the website at theblacklistexposed.com.
Yeah. If you're looking for new stuff, not a whole lot there.
It needs something new.
I get that. I do get that argument, but I also understand that they're kind of going through a soft reboot and they're trying to kind of get things moving and kind of make sure you're still on board. And, there's some trickiness to it. Trying to make you forget about Liz while bringing Agnes back to remind you about Liz. I don't know.
And the time they were in the park with the boats.
We'll get there. Hold on. Robert Vesco, he returns. We talked about that. But he does end up in jail. Now, I want to know if you were surprised, or do you want to wait until we talk about Red for that part?
Or Dembe, or we just talk about it in general?
Yeah, let's wait till Dembe. Yeah, let's wait. Hold that thought. Let's talk about Cooper. So, he agrees for Red to see Agnes, but under supervision. And I know this is one thing I saw, like it was a polarizing moment on Twitter, that it was way too fast. Do you agree with that? Way too fast.
Yeah, it's like, if this was the whole gimmick to keep Red on the hook to keep giving you cases, and now you just gave him what he wanted, like, why does Red have to give you cases?
I mean, Red's supposed to be doing it because Liz wanted it, right? That's the whole intention.
Sure.
According to what he said to Ressler.
Yeah. But I mean, it was like, why do we even introduce the concept of the story in the first place? Just like Red's angel investor. Like, Aram's angel investor. Like, why do we even talk about that other than it was the means to get a computer in the first episode?
Troy, you really not a fan of this episode, were you?
I don't mind the episode. The episode's fine. Like if this episode,
you're frustrated. You've just got that aura of frustration, I think, in episode 3 that you didn't have in the first two.
yeah, if this episode was like season 2 or season 3, I think it's like an amazing episode. Like it's well written, everything, the surprises are there. It's fantastic. I love the Ouija gun shootout. I love everything about the episode. I'm just like, where is this going for season 9? Like I felt like the Blacklist has always had like this ability to have pieces tied together, and there hasn't been anything in these 3 episodes that have tied anything together. Not saying that we need a mythology, but there has to be some kind of like, why should I come back next week kind of thing.
You want a breadcrumb.
I want a breadcrumb. I want the hanging Chad at the end of the episode.
Well, you got now he's going to hang out with Agnes. How about that? That's a breadcrumb of sorts. No?
Yeah. Agnes, who went through a time travel portal with her age.
She does. I don't care. People can say whatever they want. I think that kid aged up way more than I expected. Because it wasn't, I mean, she looked like she was like 6 the last time we saw her. Maybe she was older, but it sure looked like she was 6.
We'll get there.
Oh, okay. I mean, you're the encyclopedia. So
here's the thing that I don't understand, because every time her name comes up, I just get more and more confused. So Cooper says that he has to check with Charlene. Are they together? Are they separated? Because like, is Charlene together in the house? Like, I'm trying to figure that out.
They got back together. They've been together. They've been back together.
Then where is she? Like, is she like sleeping upstairs? Like, why can't Cooper just yell up and go, Agnes, come on down? Why does Agnes need to go get her?
Maybe the actress wasn't available, or they don't have the same actress available, so they don't want to throw people off like, hey, that's not the right wife. That's somebody else. I don't know who that is. You know how people
just like, hey, Charlene, tell Agnes to come down.
Maybe it's the budget thing. Maybe they didn't have the budget. I do agree. It's very much becoming a episode of the week versus what it's been in the past. At least 3 episodes in, that's what it seems like.
Correct.
Doesn't really seem like the serialized thing. But, soft reboot. Maybe they're going to reintroduce some breadcrumbs here soon. We'll see how it goes. Or maybe they just want to keep it episode of the week.
Because let's be clear, there's good television here, right? Especially as we move into Ressler. I mean, there are storylines between Ressler and Dembe especially that are interesting, and the storylines between Ressler and Park, and how Park is going to hold his secrets for, having diluted the drug test. I think that there's really good television that's being told. It's just, is it the Blacklist? That's the thing I'm still struggling with right now.
Okay. Ressler, speaking of, doesn't trust Dembe, which is kind of ironic if you really think about it. You're the one that's a mess, dude.
Is that how it goes, though? The person that's always the in trouble or narcissist or whatever you want to call them.
Definitely.
They're the ones that think that everybody else is wrong, and they're the ones that are right.
Absolutely. They sure do. Well, he's a drug addict. He's gone back to the pills. Pills are his thing. And he goes through a lot of trouble to try to overhydrate and do everything he can to cheat on his FBI drug test, which gives a negative
diluted result.
Negative diluted result. Which Park immediately calls him on and says, hey, dumbass, like, I'm a daughter of an addict, so I can see the signs, get straight, or I'm going to rat you out, basically. So he's going to have to straighten out. Now, this is one thing where I know it's a throwback to a previous storyline, but I just don't want a addiction storyline in the Blacklist. To me, I think that kind of personal melodrama will throw me off of the show a little bit. So I'd prefer that he wraps this up pretty quick. I know addiction's a struggle. Trust me, I know. But I don't necessarily want it in the Blacklist. I want to move on. So we'll see what they do with that. But it seems like they kind of address that plot point and they're going to move on too, because he won't be there, because Park will rat him out.
But I do like that Park was the one that called him out on it, and they're tying it back into the fact that her mother was a drug addict and all the stuff that she dealt with that, which was a very brief scene. But I think it was also an episode that Daniel Cerrone wrote, and Daniel Cerrone wrote this episode. So tying those 2 pieces together, I thought was actually a really great way to nod, and then say like, hey, yeah, we do have a dictionary or Bible. We're paying attention. These things do connect. So versus like having a Rom call him out on his crap, that would have been weird.
Yeah. I mean, it would have fit, but it would have been weird. Speaking of Park, she doesn't really get much to do this episode, so that's kind of her story point. I got a feeling that a story with her husband's in the future. That'll be a big story point here soon. Agreed?
Yeah, like maybe when Cooper and Charlene went on the run with Tom in the sewers, maybe maybe Peter and Park have to like do something together. That would be fun.
And Tom?
Well, not Tom. Tom's dead, right?
Thank you. Like don't yeah, exactly. Don't bring him back. I don't want to see Tom on the show, even in a flashback. Dembe. Dembe had a really good arc this episode. Now,
really liked it.
I'm letting the old FBI thing go because I can't watch a show if I just keep making fun of it every week. So, and some of the people that, boy, they want to argue and say it's totally plausible. No, it's not. But go check the FBI entry requirements. I mean, yeah, you got to have some friends in high places.
Panabaker becoming the senator, that's plausible, right? Because someone said, hey, maybe you took the seat that was vacated that Cooper was supposed to take. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. That might be a way she got it.
Still not. It's not how appointments at the FBI work, but it's a TV show, so I'm letting it go. You're making me not want to let it go. Stop it.
That's my job. My job's to get under your skin.
I'm trying to move forward, but it's just, no, it's not plausible. No. All right. So some people are like, well, no, people really didn't know he was a known associate. Everybody knew he was a known associate. Literally walked in the room and like, Dembe. They know his name. They know him. Everyone knows him. Everyone. Anyway, I think he's doing wonderful work as an agent, and it's cool that he has a code and he's sticking to it. And to show, I don't necessarily, I think it's to demonstrate to those around him that he is loyal to the cause, to the FBI, to the law enforcement. You know, he takes Vesco in. He's right there on Red's plane, which he still has, so obviously financially he's fine. And as Vesco gets on, he's going to go off with Red on one of their ventures, which has happened in numerous episodes where he's outsmarted the FBI. Dembe knows what he's going to do, and he beats him to the punch, and he's like, I got to take him. And eventually, Red lets him, which surprised me, but I like the moment because that's a throwback, if you will, to the respect that he has for Dembe.
Yeah, and I think that confrontation on the plane was probably the best part of the episode because you're just like, where is this going to go? Like, is Red going to allow him to get off the plane? Is Red not going to allow him to get off the plane? What is their relationship? Because this is when we talk about something new, like this is the thing that's the new. This is what happened in the last 2 years that caused, we'll call it a rift because I don't have a better word for it right now, but a rift between the two of these people who were literally, father and son, if you will, mother and son, whatever you want to say. But they've been together forever and raised him as his own child. And now they're on these opposite sides, and how their relationship continues to evolve, I think, is the interesting part of the show at this point.
Got it. Yeah, I agree. It's interesting. I like that moment. I thought it was really good because I was wondering if Red was going to, let Weecha take him, hold a gun on him or something like that. Because if it would have been Park or somebody, I think that's how it would have rolled.
For sure.
I think he just wouldn't. But because it was Dembe, he had a respect for him. Kind of bad that Vesco got caught in the mill, but that means he's still out there, and they've got, the seed was planted that he'll be back again in some form. Aram, wow, this was kind of cool. Aram, we got a nice little moment with his parents, which was delightful. Just thinking about every single 40-some-year-old guy who his parents are still kind of waiting for him to hit the mark, the potential that they think he could hit. What did you think of that whole thing, having his parents involved?
Yeah, no, I love the parent angle. I thought it was a nice lighter touch for the show, like to give some kind of humanity to the characters in a way. We're obviously seeing Cooper and Red in Cooper's kitchen, and then we have Aram with the parents. Do I need the parents like berating him? Like, hey, you need to take the money. You need to do these things. Like that seemed a little bit over the top for me personally, rather than just being more supportive and whatever you need to do. But I think that it's interesting to see, like, is he living there or is he just visiting for breakfast?
He was just visiting.
Yeah.
I liked it. I thought it is very much a fact of overbearing parents to some degree. I mean, they're wonderfully caring people and everything, but they know your potential and they just won't let you forget it. You know what I mean? And that's what they came across. It was a very loving moment. I thought it was very nice to see his family element, his parental element, and how happy they were for him that he's about to hit this extreme success. And I liked it. I thought it was a very nice, heartfelt moment.
In a way, too, for those that have listened to the Amir interview that we did on the show, like it was a nice kind of like nod at Amir's parents, because Amir obviously very fond of his mom and dad, and I just thought that was kind of cool. It was like, oh, it's like the what do you call it, meta situation, if you will. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I see. I didn't see it the way you like. I saw them as caring parents. They're just, everybody wants their kids to succeed. And in their eyes, they never said anything, or they probably didn't say much while he was saving the world, but they want his gifts to be rewarded as they rightfully should be. And that's all it was. As a parent, I get it. I get it. You want your kid to be successful and happy, but you also know what they can do. So it's like, you're finally going to be rewarded for what you can do. And that's great. Congratulations. Plus mom gets kitchen. So that's good. Now,
he still got some kind of money though, because he did get the buyout.
I don't understand this. I don't understand. Why did he take a buyout? Why didn't he just stay involved in the company? I know it's probably difficult while you're still working for the FBI, but I'd say everybody's getting all these allowances. There's your allowance. Aram deserves one. Cooper should have gave it to him. When he shows up late at night and he's like, hey, I want to save the world. That's great. I love that. I think it's a great moment in the show, where he's just like, I would rather save people than be rich, because I admire that. I respect that. And I think more people should be like that. So Aram, hero. On the same token, Cooper should have let it, hey man, can you do it on the side? Can you keep up with it and still do this job when we need you? Because everybody else is getting literally allowances of all kinds. Dembe, known criminal, now an FBI agent. Ressler, drug addict, now an FBI agent. Like, everybody's got allowances. Give him this one. He deserves it. He's the guy that gets you into literally everything.
Makes sense.
It does. So that's my only issue. Like, I get why Aram made this choice, because he's somebody who cares more about people than himself or financial stability. And I'm glad that he got his mom a kitchen, but he could have bought his mom the nicest house in the area, which they would have loved, and still done this job. So I don't necessarily understand that. That felt like that's an Agnes situation where I thought it was too rushed. That's why I think that situation should have played out over a few more episodes, and somebody should have at least had that conversation with him. Like, that was a missed opportunity, because Aram he's earned that conversation.
Yeah, it's still his idea, his software. Just be a 10% owner.
And I don't understand, how do you buy him out? That guy obviously didn't know shit. So what? Who's going to do it?
Yeah.
Who's going to do all the work? Aram's the one that did all the work, all the back end work, all the programming, all the coding. You need him involved. So I don't know. I think that I think it was a missed story point. It could have kind of went on a little bit longer, and maybe it could have been set up so that he got a little bit more out of it,
Could have been eventually a blacklister where someone used the security system to
there you go,
hack into something, and then Aram's in trouble and you got to save Aram or something.
See, got opportunities here. That could have been breadcrumbs, but I thought it was, I love the choice, because I understand Aram enough that he would have made that same choice. Honestly, I probably would have made the same choice if that's the only choice I had, because I'd rather help people than be rich. That's my brain.
Right.
But so that's probably why I understand the choice. On the same token, I just feel like with everybody else getting concessions, Aram deserves something too.
Yeah. At least give the guy an allowance or something.
Just let him still have the conversation. Just have the conversation. We've said that for many, many years. Sometimes you just got to have the conversation.
That's right.
Red. Let's move on to Red. But Aram, I still love that arc, and it was fun to see his family and him sitting outside as his parents were celebrating. That was a really sweet moment. And then how Amir sold it as he talked to Cooper and explained why he's doing it. We have more good days than bad days. Like, that whole speech was really, really a good conversation.
Yeah, like I said, there's really good TV in this episode. There's really good TV in the episode.
Red was surprised to find Vesco as a cult leader, which I think apparently you weren't. I was a little bit surprised. And you could tell he still admires him, right? Because that was his, for those that don't recall, he was basically the guy that taught Red, right? Certain things.
Correct.
The cons.
How to do the
mentor.
mentor. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then bested
And then he
him.
got double crossed.
Yep. Which was 50 million gold from a pirate ship, if I remember Robert Vesco's episode specifically.
So, I don't think there's much more on Vesco there. We kind of talked about him earlier. We talked about Dembe on the plane and the loyalty thing, which was great. So let's go to the thing that people are really. I didn't see a lot of. I don't know. I don't know if people love this or not. I think most of I can't even speak. Most of what I saw from fans was, why is Agnes still in this? Or so why do we already have a conversation with Agnes? Why is he already sitting down with Agnes? I mean, I'm sure they're just trying to get that point forward and move forward. I agree with you to agree that, well, that happened super fast, but Cooper's a very rational guy and very reasonable guy. Now, the only thing I have a hard time with is, at no point does Cooper want any indication as to why this is so important to you. Like, I would think I'm in the situation where Agnes is I don't want the same situation that just happened with my friend Liz to be anywhere close to Agnes. So you explain why this is so important to you. Even if it's a private conversation, once again, don't need to see the conversation, but the conversation needs to be had.
I mean, I think they had a little bit of that conversation where he was like, she means the world to me.
A little bit.
But
a little bit.
Yeah, why now? Why after 2 years? Why all of a sudden those types of questions need
Why
to be
is this
answered.
kid so important to you? Wink, wink.
Yeah.
Pinky.
Like, is it just because you feel bad for Liz? Is it because you might be the grandmother? Like, what?
It'd still be grandfather now, by the way. Just
Correct.
so you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just there has to be some conversation happening as to a more of a I mean, Cooper's a trusting guy, but at the same time, he's had times where he hasn't trusted Red. So,
So what do you think about this? Do you think it moved? We talked about it a little bit earlier, but it moved too fast. So what did you think about this moment?
I think it moved fast because I hope it never comes up again. To be honest, like, I'm so done with the Agnes storyline. It makes like no value to the show unless Agnes gets kidnapped and Red has to go after the kidnappers. Then it becomes part of the show. But unless Agnes is being kidnapped, we do not need to see Agnes ever again, my opinion. And especially not at 11 years old. Because that just doesn't make sense in my head.
It's kind of difficult to do that, though, isn't it?
In what way?
To never have her come up again if she's already introduced. See, that's the thing that that's probably the only thing that really bothers me about this whole storyline. I mean, well, this reboot, the soft reboot, is that Agnes is still in the picture. And I kind of get why, because it's going to be hard to, come up with Famke Janssen at some point. She's probably off doing other things. So she probably maybe she doesn't want to come back to the Blacklist. I don't know. But, whenever Liz was running off before, she would leave Agnes with Scotty, right?
Yep.
And now it's Cooper that she leaves her kid with eternally. That makes zero sense to me. Like, it's just something that doesn't work. And it feels like that's just, we created that so that we still had Agnes in the show because it's an emotional attachment to Red. And I'm with you. I don't need Agnes in the show. I just don't. Like, Liz is gone. There's really, it's, if you really want to reboot it and you want to move on, and don't go against common sense. And that's a real big swipe against common sense. It doesn't make any sense why she wouldn't go to Scotty. And I hate to break it to like, this is another one of those where it's a fact, but nobody's going to care because it's a TV show. Scotty has money. She would sue and she would win in 5 seconds.
It's true. I mean, and it's not a great storyline either by any stretch of the imagination, but it would have made more sense to say, okay, Scotty is going to be the ward of Agnes. And then all you have to do is one line and say, Agnes is with Scotty. And then done. Right. And then if you want the purpose to be Red wants to find Agnes, that's the whole purpose of the season. Where is Agnes?
She was a sitter. If he has to have a meeting with her, a sitter brought her or somebody like a caretaker because Scotty's in meetings or something. Like, that's so easily explained. I just don't need Agnes in the show. I feel like that's the vibe I get from many people that are watching. I don't know I haven't talked to anyone that was like excited that Agnes is there. Nothing against the the young actress.
Yeah, I mean, if the point of Agnes was to get Red to be reinterested in the Blacklist after a 2-year, monastery, castle, hibernation period, what have you, if that's like your nugget to say, why is Red interested in the Blacklist? Oh, because he wants to be with Agnes. Then you could still do that and have Agnes be with Scotty. And then Red comes back in and says, I want to see Agnes. And Cooper's like, I can't tell you where that is. It's like, but if you help us out, maybe we can make something happen. And so then you're back doing Blacklist cases because every case is leading to the point of he gets more information on where Agnes is. And that's kind of your mythology hook for the season.
I don't like that at all.
I don't like it at all, but at least gets her out of the show.
No, I mean, I get what you're saying, but I don't, that's like dangling a kid as bait, and I'm not a fan of that. Kids should never be a treat.
Alexander Kirk already dangled her as bait off the top of a roof.
No, but I mean, I really just feel like that's what Liz wanted is powerful enough. I don't think you need Agnes to push that over the line. I think Ressler's speech was good enough. I think that those moments were good enough, and I get that this is something that's important to him. I don't know. I just feel like that's really, I don't want Agnes to be the new Liz. And I'm sure that's probably not going to be the case, but.
Or if that's what you wanted to do,
feel comfortable.
Then let's time jump 14 years and actually have a young up and coming 20-year-old FBI agent, be the new Liz. You're right. Agnes
and
is
everybody's
now,
got like a gray streak in their hair.
Maybe. Yeah.
They look the same, but we got a gray streak. We've aged 14 years. Check that out. TV.
Pepe can make it happen.
Yeah, I'm sure he could, man.
I don't know. Like Agnes is just like nails on chalkboard to me.
Remembers him as Pinky, though. That one magical day in the park.
One magical day.
Yeah. And then apparently this kid doesn't put together that, wait, that was the day before she died. Are you responsible for that? Kind of.
And I think a 16-year-old Agnes would get more to do to play with that. An 11-year-old Agnes.
Oh, yeah, because we want to deal with like 16-year-old rebels. That's fun on a Blacklist show. I don't want that either. I just don't want kids aren't fun on TV shows unless this is Us or something.
Well, and I think that's the problem, right? Because now everybody's talking about Agnes and nobody's talking about the other good stuff in the show.
It's true.
They're just focused on the one thing they hate the most.
I don't like to use the word hate. Not hate, but just didn't want to have to come back to that well, especially this soon.
Because all people are talking about are, how is she 11 years old? That's the only thing they're talking about.
Well, now it could be that they quickly wanted to get to it, and then they'll only refer to it from here on out. Like, oh, he's got weekly visits with Agnes or something like that. Or it could be something where she keeps popping up. I just hope it's not the latter. Now, the age thing. Some people are saying, oh, no, she was only this, she was only that. I swear that kid was like 6 years old when Liz died.
6 or 7, 2-year time jump, 8 or 9, 11. No, just doesn't work in my head.
I mean, you know what? She gave birth in season 3. I mean, I'm sure we've jumped ahead in time once or twice, probably in that time. So maybe you can make that stretch. But I'm saying the kid we saw the last time, that was Agnes, looked much younger than 9.
Yeah.
Or 10.
Much younger.
Yeah. Oh, well, it is what it is. That's the episode. And that is the Blacklist for this week. Sorry, we went on a little Agnes tangent, but that's what people are talking about. We have to talk about it, right?
That's exactly right.
All right. So I want to take a second to say thank you to those of you that are supporting the show by going to Patreon. That's Patreon, patreon.com/theblacklistgsm. Special big thanks to our honorary Blacklister, Patricia. Thank you as always. Also, special shout out to our task force members, Judy, Matt, Karen, Marilyn, Ryan, Cindy, James, Jens, Justin, all official task force members. Thanks for all the people joining this year. That's wonderful. All of those people that receive cool gifts from us, and you can get a cool gift as well if you donate at the $20 level or higher. If you want a cool t-shirt or a coffee mug, come on, you do. You don't have to stay at that $20 level forever. Just a few months to get the cool gifts.
And remember our $5 level moving forward. We're basically giving the patrons the episodes first and then everybody else a day later. Plus we have our Ask Us Anything question of the month. We'll be recording that episode shortly here for November. So make sure if you have a question for Aaron or I about anything and anything underneath the sun, send those in through your patron mailboxes over at Patreon, patreon.com/theblacklistgsm. Fill the fedora, support the show, get some awesome rewards for yourself, and we'll be back right after this.
You obviously love podcasts, but are you also a fan of movies and television? Do you want to listen to a show that reviews entertainment honestly and casts pretentiousness to the wind? That debates both film and TV topics in a fun, good-spirited way, while still getting to the heart of why we all love them so much? Then don't miss the award-winning weekly podcast, The Hollywood Outsider, now available on your favorite podcast app or at thehollywoodoutsider.com.
Hey, this is Amir. I play Aram on The Blacklist, and you are listening to The Blacklist Exposed.
Okay, it's time for Special Agent Intel. This is thoughts you guys had either on recent events or like last week's episode. So this is a lot of it's on last week's episode. Chuck Gibbons on the Skinner conclusion. He says, like Aaron, I'm still on the fence about the new show. Honestly, I think season 8 should have been a series finale. Agreed. And this branded as a spinoff. Agreed. I started watching Blacklist because of Spader, and I stayed for the mythology. I feel so satisfied with the way the mythology wrapped up, but I'm not sure yet about this new show. I have great faith in Spader and some of the other characters and actors that I've come to love, but even Spader needs the right material in order to shine. Cough, Robert California, cough. I guess we'll see how much I still love those characters without the Bokenkamp-driven mythology behind them. Huge thanks to both of you guys for leading us on this journey.
Oh, thanks, Chuck.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's really nice. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that Robert California was a fun addition to The Office.
I feel like he hasn't had the soliloquies like you normally have. Oh, last week he had a good one, I think, but
I think there were a couple this week that are a little bit more pointed.
A little bit.
But it just feels.
I need the danger back.
Yeah,
I feel it's too light.
It feels safe.
Safe. That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you.
Yeah,
it does. The whole new aura of the show feels safe. And
we're hanging out at churches. We're hanging out in country clubs. It's like I'm waiting for Karen to show up at some point. It's like
it's feeling very NCIS.
Yeah, it just feels like there's no stakes.
Yep, need some stakes, and either the meaty kind or the regular kind.
Go back to the restaurant and just cook some up. That'd be fine too.
I am hungry.
Iraq over on YouTube said,
"It's cool."
Park's Peter storyline is just like her background in Alaska. Totally meaningless and poorly executed.
Ouch.
With that said, let's dive into other characters and learn more. Cooper for the win.
I agree with all the character stuff. I do like Park a lot as a character. I think she does a great job as the character. She just doesn't get much to do. I would like to see her character get more to do, personally.
Yeah, I want to know more about the side business that Red was obviously keeping tabs with her on. Like, what is the freelancing that she was doing? Like, dig into that. There's got to be some stories there.
Laura's more than capable, so let's give her something to do. That's what I say. Dean from the mailbag. New to the podcast as of this year, but you both seem so enthused and engaging. I just had to listen. One quick question. Uh-oh. Has anyone else noticed in season 1, Red was considerably shorter than Ressler or Cooper, and now in season 9 seems to be a little bit taller than either of said men? Best example of the height difference is from season 1, episode 4, The Stewmaker, to the most recent episode of season 9, episode 2, The Skinner conclusion. Again, new to the endeavor, but I see promising returns. I did not notice that. I mean, were they shooting it like Lord of the Rings style, or?
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of is that,
shoot everybody else like a hobbit?
Yeah, camera angles might be at play there because Red's more in the foreground and everybody else is kind of in the background, so it obviously makes it look like he's taller. Just from
I've never seen a noticeable height difference from Red to Cooper. Cooper's always been taller,
right?
Because Cooper, I think Henry Lennox is a very tall man. We've met him. He's
a very
big
tall
dude.
Man. Yeah.
I would, and he is definitely taller than Spader. We met below him. Trust me, it's not close. Cooper's taller.
It's at least a head.
Yeah. So I think that's got to be a shooting situation if that was a perception. Now Ressler, I think Diego is probably close to or maybe a little under Spader.
Yeah, about the same. They're about the same if I remember right.
Okay. So maybe that's just a fluctuation in shot angles.
Yeah, it could be like if somebody's leaning on a desk or something and it just appears a little bit when we're there. At the end of the day, like, I'm glad you're paying attention, but I'm not really looking at height differences. I'm looking at the material of the show.
Hey, I'm not going to lie. I would look at something weird like that if I didn't like, did he get taller? I don't understand. That doesn't make any sense. But Cooper, I think is always kind of lorded over everyone because he's a very tall man.
Maybe you're just noticing it because of the bald head.
Makes him look taller.
It makes him look taller or something. I don't know.
No hair makes you look taller. I will shave. No, I'm already 6 foot. I'm fine.
Well, yeah, it's like the lack of the hat too. Like he wears the hat occasionally, but it doesn't seem like the hat.
You know what? Maybe the hat is what makes him seem taller.
Maybe.
In those other episodes, he's not really wearing the hat much in the last couple episodes, so maybe he seems shorter because he's not wearing the hat. The hat always kind of, he got a couple inches on top with the hat, right?
We know the Winston Churchill hat definitely made him look taller.
There you go.
D.D. Elliott and Douglas Baumgartner said, I don't understand the time jumps and how Agnes can be 11 years old. So let's go with this. If she was born at the end of season 3 and Tom
I didn't know
dies...
this was here. I really should have looked ahead and I wouldn't have worked through it myself. Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
But Tom dies halfway through season 5, and then they basically have a 10-month time jump.
Stop.
Right, for the coma, for Liz being in coma. I heard you clap. I'm just going to keep going. Two times in one episode is too much.
No, I disagree. It's never enough.
Okay, so there's a time jump, at the end of season 5, 10 months. So if she's born 2 years later for season 5 plus a year, so now we're talking like 3. So 3 when Tom dies. After the time jump, she's 4. Then we have 3 more seasons, so she'd be like 7. And with a 2-year time jump, now she'd be 9. And that's still a stretch. But her being 11 years old is redonkulous. So yeah, could be 11, I guess, but 9 seems more reasonable to me as well. Thoughts?
I already said my thoughts. What more do you want me to say? It doesn't work, but you just got to accept it and move on, because I'm not going to come back next week and be like, we were wrong. She was 9. Cooper, they've all been saying the wrong age. Like Agnes will correct them while they're having a conversation around the dinner table. Guys, I'm actually 9.
Right.
I'm not 11 or 12. No, I'm not. Okay.
Or they were like, well, we got to say she's 11 because we filmed those soccer players and the soccer players were 13. So
you're stuck on the soccer players.
They were so tall.
I don't really care what her age is. I just don't want her on the. I just don't want her
on the show. That's all that matters.
Yeah, it sounds harsh. It's like, again, nothing against the actress, just the character, Linda Cheney. I thought was that Lynn Cheney? Linda Cheney, Dembe on the plane, and I shouted a cuss word. Totally out of character for me. That was phenomenal. Red's new girl can shoot, and now I might possibly like her. Hoping that this wrestler and drug storyline gets wrapped up quickly. I like this one. Yeah, I enjoyed this one too for the most part, other than the issues that I already talked about. But I do hope the drug storyline gets wrapped up quickly and we dig Weecha.
Yeah, I like Weecha. This was the whole shootout thing was definitely like, okay, like I dig her. She's fun.
Yeah, she was fun. Hope she gets more to say. Kind of just standing over there like John Wick in the corner. Right.
But definitely give me more Red Dembe storylines. That was really good this week.
It was really good. And I like I hope someday you understand why I did this, that kind of thing. I just like that little moment. It was a good moment.
Great moment.
Very much so. Yep. All right. Well, that's it for the SPK, which I still haven't said what it stands for. Google it. Because I tried, and I'm just like, Troy, can we just say SPK? Yep. And actually, for a while, I could have swore while I was listening to it, I'm like, they almost sound like they're saying SBK. That's the tricky thing with the P, right?
It is.
But when you hear Red say it out loud, phonetically, I give him credit. He pulls those off without fail. Spader always pulls those tricky names and dialects and accents off without fail.
I believe it's the Supremo Priori Knighthood.
He said it way better. It was very sexy when he said it.
Very like, ooh, say it again.
Yeah. I'm like, wow, how you doing? How you doing? Which is funny. Side note, I finally saw the final episode of Friends. I'd never seen it before.
Oh.
Because I'm not a big Friends fan, but my wife happened to be watching it. So I finally saw the finale and I'm like, oh, that ended sweet. Not bad for a show I didn't care about.
So are you saying that because you want to be inducted into the Friends Knighthood or?
No, just mention it. I said, how you doing? And it made me think about that. And I'm like, I just saw that.
I'm tracking with you now.
Yeah. I was dipping into the past, much like Blacklist is. So I expect we're going to see Scotty next week. And then she can explain why she doesn't have custody of Agnes.
Great. We can have like divorce court or custody court or something.
Judy Justice. We can have Judy Justice weigh the custody hearing. I think that would be great. Red can be a character witness. All right, well, that concludes this discussion. So next time, right now is the time to recommend the Blacklist to your friend, enemy, or neighbor. And when you do, please also recommend they listen and subscribe to the Blacklist Exposed podcast. All case files can be found at blacklistexposed.com and everywhere great and sometimes mediocre podcasts can be found.
For more great Aaron and Troy hijinks, follow us on your favorite social media outlet. I'm at Troy Heinrichs. He's at Aaron Smirks. And together we are at the Blacklist GSM. Talk about the show, the podcast, and don't forget to submit your Patreon questions if you're out there.
And we also have been doing the Hollywood Outsider together. So there you go. There's another podcast about film and television you can check out that we're on. Big thanks for listening. Don't forget to answer our profiling question. Did Aram make the right choice? Yes or no? Did he make the right choice? Yes or no? Seems
like we're all in it for the money these days. So I would say no.
I get where he's coming from, but I don't know, man. Somebody should have made that deal with him. Screw you, FBI. Shame on you. You can make a known criminal an agent, but you can't make Aram rich. You suck.
I know. Now we're just stuck on the plateau. Salaries will never increase. Thanks, Aram.
All right. Take care, everybody. See you next week.
Until next time, I'm Agent Troy Heinrichs. That's at Troy Heinrichs on Twitter. And if you want to learn more about me, just visit, about.me/Troy Heinrichs.
And I'm Agent Aaron Peterson. You can hear me talking about movies and TV on the Hollywood Outsider podcast, as well as Remake This Movie Right. We are available at thehollywoodoutsiders.com or on Twitter at 5popcorn. Be sure to subscribe, download the app, submit your feedback, but most importantly, keep yourself off of the Blacklist.
The Blacklist Exposed is a Golden Spiral Media production. Find more of our great podcasts at goldenspiralmedia.com/podcasts.